Yes.
Sure, and then same thing with the Mandarin Chinese program at Woodstock.
So Mandarin, and I may actually let Director Belial speak to this a little bit because he went and met with them, but that was actually part of the enrollment and transfer process where you had, and the dynamic of managing the slots for a neighborhood school and an immersion program co-located in the same building, and you actually went and met with the community. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I did, and I got a little bit of correspondence from staff that you'll probably remember Representative Garcia, that the Mandarin Chinese program had allowed to date 60 students in the kindergarten to allow for attrition at the higher grades. And in order to staff that, they had 3 classrooms of 20 students. This last year was the first year that they had more applicants in the neighborhood than they did than they had slots for. And so when the neighborhood kids didn't get in, of course, they populated the neighborhood program. And so what happened is that the neighborhood program, partly because of that and partly because the neighborhood program is growing, it raised the kindergarten class to 37 or 38. And
in one classroom?
In a class. And so the principal made a decision that felt inequitable. And so as we've heard charter schools in front of us, as we've heard staffing, as we hear Alliance, as we hear high schools, as we hear K-5s and even hear K-8s, FTE is tight and people want more FTE. And I think we would all desire classes of 20 for our kindergartens, maybe even 15. But the choice was, with the space in the building, to split it into 2 kindergartens for the neighborhood, and then 2 classes of 26 in the Chinese immersion program. That seems well within staff reasonableness. They believe that, looking at the attrition, that it won't compromise the long-term health of the immersion program. Of course, some people disagree with that. Some of the other information that the community members shared with me is, for example, why didn't we open up another kindergarten neighborhood program because they have a room available? And then I asked if they had 6 rooms available so that we could matriculate with them, and really there was a little bit of a puzzled look, because what they knew about the program that I didn't know about the program is that students who don't get into the program start at kindergarten in the neighborhood program, and then they have a large drop traditionally in the neighborhood program because people really wanted that, and so then they kind of ditch the neighborhood program. I don't think that's wise planning on our part to say that we're going to open up another kindergarten program and not have plans in place to do first grade and second grade. So I think that's where staff had landed on that. It's not a desire to stick it to the Chinese immersion program. It's not in any interest to let go of something that I think we all consider to be a gem of our system, especially with federal support. That's really a K-16 program. I think it was just really trying to balance the needs of a neighborhood program and the immersion program.
So can I just ask a clarifying question? Is it possible for students to come into the immersion program in first grade, where we don't have quite the low limit in the the kindergarten we're trying to keep it at 25, 26 as a maximum. And so if you keep it to 2 classrooms and 52, can you then say, okay, at first grade, you could bump the size up? Is that what the plan is?
My understanding from Director Garcia, who runs the dual immersion program, that they are looking for that across all of our system, whether that's Japanese immersion or Spanish immersion or Russian immersion. I think the challenge is that the reality of kids coming in with the amount of background, because it's not a phonetic language, it's a character language, and there's so much intonation that beyond first grade it becomes really unrealistic for somebody to pick that up unless they come with it. But I think that's a possibility that they are trying to figure out how many folks would fit into that option.
Okay, we're going to open up a few more slots in first grade, if I recall.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And there's also the larger pieces of questions around just focus options in general, and then the piece around expansion of immersion, and those are all folded into next year's discussions and processes. So that's not part of this year's budget, but very much on the radar and an important topic to figure out where do we go from here for expanding immersion and figuring out that perennial question of the balance of treasured focus options and strong neighborhood schools.
I just think I'll just put my 2 cents in here since I won't be here next year when you have the discussion, but responding to demand for that Mandarin immersion program, there's just seems to be huge demand for it. And so I think finding a way to meet that demand, it's a valid desire of families to have their kids learn a foreign language, and there's a great deal of demand in our country for kids to learn Mandarin. So I encourage our district to look really hard at that and look at a way to have to start another program in Mandarin, because I just think that there's such demand for it, and if we don't meet it, somebody else will meet it, and we'll pull those kids out of our system. And so I think that we should serve the demand there.
Thank you.